Today on Locked On Phoenix Suns, the first back-to-back wins in 2 months, and the 10 seed belongs to your Phoenix Suns. A lot to get to next.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into Locked On Phoenix Suns. I'm Brendon Kleen, a staff writer at Awful Announcing and a credentialed Suns media member. Thank you for making Locked On Suns your first listen post-game on a Wednesday night, Thursday morning. Don't forget Locked On Suns free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So click that follow or subscribe button. Do what thousands of other Suns fans have already done. Become an everydayer and get locked on to the Phoenix Suns right here each and every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Joining me, as always, from right here at a suddenly quiet, hopefully it stays that way, PHX Arena. How are we feeling on a Wednesday night, Ben Garcia?
So we'll start here. Apparently people rent out the court. A couple of times it's been fraternities for an hour, but I'm a little surprised that the music isn't going. I'm sure it'll come back on. The vibes were immaculate tonight. Brendon, I signed someone's shoe tonight.
Yeah.
Shout her out. I met a everydayer, a loyal everydayer. Her name was Chloe. Very kind, very nice. It was way too kind with her words. She, I don't even want to say what she said because it was so kind, but I basically said, I was like, I'm the second most popular person on this podcast.
I don't mean to be like, this is going to sound super cocky, but specifically here, I'm actually surprised more people don't say something to me. Because I'm like, if it's going to happen anywhere, it'd be here. But then you and I have we've shouted out a few people over the course of the season, and it's always like these other random places. Yeah. Meanwhile, I'll be walking through the concourse of the literal arena, and nobody even bats an eye. It's just funny.
I don't think it sounds cocky. We do have listeners, and
if they're going to be anywhere, they'd be here, right?
That was the first time I've ever walked into a listener here. Now, granted,
it's ever
my
happened
first
to me.
year, so
I don't think it's ever happened.
Maybe they see you and they're like, "No, it's not."
They're like, "Well, of course he's here.
He's working."
Maybe they're being, maybe.
But the only people are people that work here, like our actual staff here, that have said something to me.
That's true.
But that's it.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's been out on the streets. I was at Chipotle one day, and the guy who was serving me my burrito recognized me. So
Chloe.
Yeah, Chloe was very kind, very nice. I signed a shoe. I took a picture. It was great. So made me feel better about myself than I really am. So shout out the everydayers. We might bicker sometimes, but I love you guys. You guys are awesome.
I had a dude over the weekend say hey to me at a comedy show, but I was so I was head in my phone. I was waiting for somebody to show up, and I was totally blindsided by it. So I was like, oh, hey, what? And then he kind of just kept going, so I didn't get his name. But he said he watches and listens every day too, so salute to you, shout out. Yeah. Let's get to it. Moment of the game here. 127-121 win over the Chicago Bulls. Devin Booker, 41 points. That's where I'll start us off.
Yep.
It's a funny one. I'm just going the bank shot that he hit, the rainbow heat check. I mean, actually, it wasn't really a heat check. He took the heat check right after that from the opposite side of the court and missed it. But Book was just on one tonight. Honestly, Chicago gave him the 40-piece because he wasn't even close, and then they made a little run, and he just had to get 6 points at the end that actually got him over the hump. But he always closes season strong. This was a night where you could have looked at the Bulls roster and been like, nope, nobody is going to be able to cover him. That's just sort of what it is. And he took full advantage of it. So that's just symbolic. That shot wasn't any sort of big turning point, but it was just one of those where it's like nothing can go wrong for him.
But I think it can be, and that is my moment too. So we can harp on this a little bit. And it's not that specific shot. To me, it's just the Devin Booker scoring bonanza. If we're really picking on one, it was probably the baseline shot later or early on in that fourth quarter. With hand in his face, just absolutely drains it. When Devin Booker's on. He's one of the best scorers in the NBA. At times you could argue one of the best pure scorers in the NBA. Playmaker of his own right, but that shot right there, the one that gets the oohs and ahs from the fans, and I think that is a heat check shot because if you're hitting it off a bank shot, obviously he's not calling that from that far out. So for me, again, don't get your hopes up, but it could be a symbolic moment. This could be a moment where the Suns, like last year when they were going into that 10-game stretch, like, hey, man, when this is all going together, when we have the right guys in place, we can be a team that at least gives other teams fits. Because one thing about tonight and yesterday, I don't care if the game got a little close at the end. No one ever thought the Suns were losing this game.
No. It felt like they almost the Book and KD almost were like, we'll play the rest of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if they wanted to push the button and say end, like sim to end, they could have, but they kind of were screwing around. You could feel it.
Yeah, I kind of not that they were screwing around or whatever. They were just playing the rest of the game. I just hated that they continued to play.
Yeah.
But what I will say in defense of Bud, who all coaches do this. It's not just him. Sometimes you want your guys out there just having fun. Even at the cost at a couple of minutes in what a season that has been dragging and been really lackluster to watch and just hard to watch all year, seeing those guys out there just kind of have fun. Like, I'm okay with that.
In the NBA these days, it's like, it's got to be like 25-30 to really feel like they're not coming back. But yeah, I think what you're saying is totally true. Like, this stretch of games can get them out of the rut that they were in. I just was saying, usually when we're talking moment of the game, it's like, and then everything flips. So there wasn't really one of those today, but I think you're right that big picture, the whole game, maybe this is one of those things where it's like, hey, they actually are starting to, this is 3 solid wins in 4 games now. The Lakers one you can't ignore. We were frustrated and mad after that one, and fans were too. That's equally important. I don't think anybody's sitting here saying the whole season's turned around, but there is something to be said. Not only, the back-to-back wins, that's kind of crazy and funny that's even what we're talking about, but for a week now, they've really taken care of business, and they did it again, and, their best players are stepping up, the role players are fitting better. It's looking right for the first time in a bit.
And how much of that has to do with the guys that are on the floor? I don't necessarily agree with people's sometimes non-favorable view of Grayson Allen or even at times Mason Plumlee. Yeah, Mason Plumlee's not great, but he's a backup center. At times he's the starting center, but what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Grayson Allen, I think people are a little too harsh. Bradley Beal wasn't there again tonight.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest with you, as I look up, Cody Martin had 7 points tonight. I don't think I've seen the guy hit 7 buckets in his career as a Phoenix Sun, but I want to see more of him.
I was saying.
And it's not just him.
Yeah.
It's Ryan Dunn. It's also Iguodala. Energy is contagious, and I think that those guys fed off of that. No, I don't. I think Cody Martin can't hit the right side of a barn when he's shooting the basketball.
I watched him warm up today, and I was like, yeah, it's not just and that some kind of fluke. He's the worst shooting brother for sure.
I just think with those guys in there, it was infectious. Dudes are diving on the floor. Why Oso Iguodala ever got sent to the G League is beyond me. And I swear to God, if anyone tries to argue with me that he just got better from going to the G League, I just
he played like
disagree.
2.5 games.
That's what I mean.
He dominated, but. So, okay, let's hang on that because that's something I want to take a closer look at, and specifically the infectiousness, the contagiousness of these young guys. I think there's a lot there that's interesting with Bud's coaching career that I want to get to next. First, today's show is brought to you by Robinhood Gold. With Robinhood Gold, you can now enjoy the VIP treatment, receiving a 3% IRA match on retirement contributions. The privileges of the very privileged are no longer exclusive. With Robinhood Gold, your annual IRA contributions are boosted by 3%, plus you also get 4% APY on your cash in non-retirement accounts. That's over 8 times the national savings average. The perks of the high net worth are now available for any net worth. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. To receive your 3% boost on annual IRA contributions, sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate subject to change. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold at $5 a month for 1 year from first match. Must keep funds in an IRA for 5 years. Go to Robinhood.com/boost. Over 8 times the national average savings account interest rate claim is based on data from the FDIC as of November 18th, 2024. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, Gold membership offered by Robinhood Gold LLC. Today's episode also brought to you by our friends at Gametime, the best place to buy any ticket you could possibly want. There's nothing like watching basketball live, the energy of the crowd, the nightclub environment if you happen to live in the Valley of the Sun, the sound of the sneakers, whatever it might be. If you want to catch a game in person, Gametime makes getting tickets easier than ever. Maybe you're lucky to live nearby a city or a state where the tournaments are going on. If you're like a women's college basketball fan, which more and more people are, those are in home arenas. So you just got to live near a school that made it. You get to go. Otherwise, check out, maybe you live near Tampa where the Final Four is. A little bit of spring training left here. And of course, your Phoenix Suns. On the Gametime app, amazing deals, super deals highlighted, and their peace of mind guarantee. You can see the seat views before you buy, no surprise fees, and a lowest price guarantee, meaning you can book at Gametime with total confidence using their Gametime Picks feature. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime Picks by downloading the Gametime app, creating an account, and using the code LOCKEDON. This says NHL. I'm assuming that that's interchangeable. For $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Game time.
Brendon, I think we're going to need to start breaking up the ads. You're going to have to do one, and then I'm going to have to do one. Because that was a gauntlet what you just went through. I am so thankful for our sponsors, and everyone should go check them out.
That Robinhood one basically has like the fast voice stuff.
Cow.
Like the credit cards. Like I got to do it like that is what that's basically what it is.
People are going to start watching the ads in 2 times speed at the end so they can hear you do it.
I'd love it. I can just throw that in there if someone wants to send it over. All right, let's get to our you can go with yours after, or go first.
No. I don't want to. You go first because you have a much better lesson than I do. Mine is not as nearly as good.
This honestly could be something we did as a separate segment, but I think it fits for today because everybody's talking about the rookies. I mean, the young players in general. Colin Gillespie, not technically a rookie. Obviously, Cody Martin, not a rookie, but even just with Dunn and Oso, you were just saying it in the last segment. What they're bringing to the court is clearly rubbing off on other players, and Booker has said it multiple times. KD has said it. Everybody can see it with their own eyes. It's not just energy. It's not just like, I think, maybe a positivity and like a fresh mentality that's not so worn down by how awful this season has been because they're just out here fighting. I think it's all that stuff. But it's also interesting to me that part of that, when you hear Book and everything, is they communicate better than some of the other guys on this team, which is crazy and something you wouldn't think of. So I want to look at Bud's history, and I'll bounce some names off you, and just we can kind of go through it pretty quickly. And it illustrates in one way, obviously, what Bud is, what a lot of coaches, I think, they're just hesitant to play rookies. But then I want to talk about, I think teams need this, and we can get there. But so the rookie that Bud has coached, and you got to remember, he's coached good teams forever, so he's never coached a lottery pick or whatever, but John Collins, 74 games, 24 minutes a game. That's that dude was a rotation player, basically throughout.
It's an anomaly, though.
You got Mike Muscala, 20 games. These are names people know. Dante DiVincenzo, 27 games. Marjon Beauchamp, who was a G League hotshot guy, early second-round pick, 52 games, only 14 minutes. There's a bunch of other names that are people you probably don't even remember who played much less even than that.
Taurean Prince.
Yeah, Taurean Prince. He was kind of middling. Tyler Dorsey was an Oregon guy with Dylan Brooks' team. He was, a little bit of a combo guard, rotation guard guy. But Collins was really the only one that this has ever happened with. And it's... So, okay, that's somewhat normal. I think Ty Jerome the other day went viral because he was saying he didn't get along with Monty, right? Coaches have that. It's not unique to Bud. It's not unique to the Suns. But I just hearing how much these guys are rubbing off. It's the exact opposite of what we typically think, right? It's the vets are having such an impact on the rookies. That guy's my mentor. That guy's whatever. But it feels like this season, as a basketball fan, as a reporter, as a whatever you want to call me, it's opened my eyes to the fact where it's I think it actually is important, and we can probably go around other teams in the NBA, to have that kind of hunger and competitiveness also kind of pushing the rest of your group up. Like, you do need youth in a way that's not just on the court. Like, the mental and the competitive side of it, I actually think it really helps.
Well, these are guys that are still trying to make their way in the NBA. I thought what you had said is exactly what needed to be said. The hunger mentality, especially for a guy like Oso, who's a second-round pick. We don't know if he's going to be here. Well, most second-round picks we don't think are going to be around for forever or even past their contract that they're on. Ryan Dunn as well. What he has done at Virginia is exactly what he is here. He's a rim runner. He obviously plays stifling defense. What he does, the hustle plays, those are the kind of things that we needed injected into the Suns team. Cody Martin clearly doesn't fit the mold of those two guys, but that infectious energy of guys that you were talking about the other game and said, hey, in the offseason, the Suns got to go get guys that are like this.
Yeah.
Hungry, diving to the floor, and just injecting a sort of energy to this team that is infectious. And, it's something I just said a minute ago. What you are saying is 1,000% right, and I couldn't agree more with it. And you had said something as well, that teams need this. Teams need this if a rookie is playable, clearly,
exactly.
Right?
That's I was the caveat I was just going to give.
They have to be playable.
You don't want to be like, well, why didn't you play Adrian Payne?
Yeah, exactly.
He's on my list. Well, because he sucked.
Like
he wasn't an NBA player. It's fine.
Well, like Ryan Dunn, he can't shoot the ball a lick. Now tonight he had a couple of three-pointers and he was rim running. He had a nice pass from Colin Gillespie, dunked the ball earlier in this game. But that doesn't really matter, right? Because we're not asking him to score 17 points tonight. We're asking him to defend, hustle plays, rebound the damn basketball, and same with Oso. The one thing a critique I had about Oso is his offensive game at times can be a little bit of a liability because all he has is that push shot and the stuff around the rim, which he's obviously good at. But those guys have that. They don't need to do all the extra things. What they need to do is be rookies, right? And Bud needs to allow them to make mistakes. And I got to be honest with you, man, haven't seen a ton of mistakes lately. Unless you want to call Ryan Dunn shooting the basketball a mistake, I'm not seeing a ton of mistakes.
Because
seasoned guys.
Agreed.
They're not fresh.
Because
they're not one and done guys either.
When you have superstars, what you're asking of a rookie also is just so much smaller, right? Like, I think that's part of it. And yeah, I think rookie almost is maybe too specific of a term, but like young players, like even I think of like in Boston, Peyton Pritchard finally getting a chance this year. He's not a rookie, but for all intents and purposes, this is his first year where he's really part of the rotation. And he's been this kind of new thing for them where, okay, now Pritchard's involved and he's actually going to be in the rotation this year and everything else. Like, and, he might win Sixth Man of the Year for all we know, but like.
He might win White Boy of the Year too.
The Bulls have like 5 of these guys. I was noticing that. I'm like, wow, they got Zach Collins in here now. They got Herter in here now. They really bolstered up their crew here. But yeah, I think and to go back to the thing with Bud where I don't know, it's too early. We don't even know if they're going to keep him. We don't know what the rest of the season's going to entail, but maybe it's just a mentality where maybe the rookies are more ready than they used to be. And so these old-fashioned coaches are just a little bit outdated thinking like these guys can't play or something. But I think it's obvious to me, especially with, the way the NBA's just changed. So a lot of older guys I just think can't cut it with the way that the style of the game is anymore either. So that's just another reason where I think these coaches just have to really get out of that and say, let's see what they can do for us physically and athletically and figure out the rest, especially if I have freaking Devin Booker and Kevin Durant insulating them and not having to have them score or handle the ball.
Bud is obviously old school. You had just mentioned that a second ago. He is a Pop disciple.
Yeah.
What if it's this? What if Bud is now starting to come around to the rookies, which obviously clearly, right? But what if the way he's connecting with them, and it's not a Monte Williams, Ty Jerome situation where Bud is connecting with them because they're a little bit old school in terms of energetic, hustle to the floor. It's not really pretty basketball, the things that they do. It's all the little nitty-gritty things, and to steal a term from Bill Simmons, glue guy, maybe that is something that Bud has started to fall in love with, where it's not all just about scoring the basketball, it's about doing the little things, and that is kind of old school. It is not old school to play rookies. You want them to earn their keep, but the way that they're getting it done could be something that Bud is buying into a little bit more. Let me ask you this before we move on here in a second. Is this the lineup that we see for the rest of the year? This rotation, is this what we see for the rest of the year? Is there no more Bull? Grayson's going to come back and play in the lineup.
And so is Beal. So, right? I mean, he's going to play if he's healthy.
Is he?
Yeah.
Suns keep winning. I don't know. Suns beat the Cavs. Suns beat the Celtics. They're still going to play Beal?
Yeah,
You don't see the correlation at least a little bit?
Of course I see the correlation.
Not you,
Oh,
Bud.
I'm like, of course I do.
I know you see it, freaking Bud.
Well, yeah, but I mean...
You and I talked about this over the phone, and you were like, teams don't do that. I'm not saying... I guess my term was wrong when I texted you, put him on ice. You could just bench him.
Yeah, you could, but I mean, I don't think we see that either, to be
Now,
honest.
now, listen.
Max player, former
I
All-NBA.
I agree.
Vet, traded all this crap to get him.
You're going to sit.
Whatever. That's...
He's going to go back to the bench.
I'm sure there's examples.
You know what's really going to stir the pot? When Colin Gillespie starts over Bradley Beal.
I don't think that's going to happen.
They beat the Celtics, and they beat the Cavs. Now, listen, that is very unlikely. And the best way for Beal to come back is they get their ass handed to them by both those teams. Then you're like, yeah, I guess we were just riding a high because they beat the Bulls and they beat the whoever it was on Monday night that I already forgot about. The Raptors.
Bucks.
Raptors.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Anyways,
last Monday.
But
yes.
if the Suns beat these, this gauntlet of next 3 teams or the next 2 teams, right?
Yeah.
You're going to put them in the starting lineup when you know you have something that works. That's a fireable offense. That is.
I mean, that's just been the Brad problem all season. Like, what do you do with him?
I'd be curious.
He's never around to develop chemistry.
I'd be curious.
You have a great win, but he happens to be on the bench, so he doesn't even participate or build off of that with any kind of momentum. And then, but you can't just, he's under contract for 2 seasons. He makes $100 million. He's 30 years old.
We're still going to pay him.
Like,
everyone always, and I know you get I know everyone always brings up the $100 million aspect. We're still paying him. We're not just going to Jimmy rig his money from him. I'm just saying, it's just going to be $50 million. And listen, I'm not even too sure I agree with this, but the guy can't start. Like, you can't start him. And you know what's a bigger thing? You put him on ice or you play him, but he backs up Colin Gillespie.
The crazy thing is, outside of Gillespie, there's no one whose minutes I really want Brad to take.
Well, you know
That's
what's funny
the problem,
about Gillespie?
so it's not that crazy to say.
What's funny about Gillespie is, I don't know what it is. In the preseason, I thought he could shoot the ball pretty well in the past couple of games. He can't shoot it a lick.
Yeah.
The guy tonight had 7 assists. Like, he's facilitating the ball well.
I mean, that's like the one thing he can do.
But that's what the bleeping Suns need. That's why we brought Tyus Jones in.
You took a victory lap on Oso yesterday, and that was fair.
First
when
time.
I included Colin Gillespie in my thing of I want to see one of the younger players kind of break out a little bit, you were like, come on, he's not even an NBA
Well, listen,
player.
All right, I'll take the L on that one.
I'm not saying you have to take an L. I'm just saying I'll take a W.
All I'm saying is, listen, Colin Gillespie still isn't a great starting option.
No, he's not a starter in the NBA. I think he's a guy.
You know what's funny?
You
when you were saying not necessarily rookies, but young guys, I was going to interrupt you, but I don't like to interrupt you when you're talking. You had mentioned Peyton Pritchard. I'm like, Colin Gillespie's kind of like that guy. He's not
the scorer, but
no. I just mean he's one of those glue guys.
Yeah.
He's not Peyton Pritchard. Peyton Pritchard's way better.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying he is that glue guy that comes out and does the dirty work, and Bud might like that. Yeah. Listen, man, if we come out and see Colin Gillespie starting when Beal's healthy, that's going to cause more problems than keeping him on ice a little bit longer. Granted, Beal's got, I still think, a week before he's or a couple more days before he's reevaluated, so he won't even make the game on Monday. Likely, though.
All right, the closeout. Next. First, today's show is brought to you by Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time, and with Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. So whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. Look, I freelanced for way too long. It was a nightmare. I needed something like Upwork, honestly. I really just needed somebody to mix and match me with some random place that needed sports writing. I actually did something for NBA Europe. I did something for the Houston Chronicle, but that was just like word of mouth. That is an awful way to do it. Upwork is an actual real way that is organized and has a company behind it, and that's what you should use no matter what your industry is. So visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK, Upwork.com, Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. All right, Ben, let's close things out. So the only magic number that I wanted to look at is turnovers, and this is just another aspect. So one, the Suns not turning it over. That's obvious. We look at that almost every single night. It's been better lately. But the other part of it that I think we've been focusing on more on our show, and I know Bud's been getting asked about it and everything, is forcing them. And that's something that the Suns are now doing in another element of what's happening with these guys on the court is you look, they had 9 steals tonight and they had 6 blocks as a team. 3 of those steals were Cody Martin. Gillespie had 1, Dunn had 1, and actually Tyus had 3. And then blocks, Richards had 3, but then Martin and Dunn each had 1 as well. And that's that just, one, it ends possessions. It makes you a better defensive team because you're not having to rely on just misses every single time. And it's going to make your offense better. Like, it is just a fundamental part of being a good basketball team. That is another thing these guys are bringing that is more tangible than just saying, oh, spirit and hustle and all. It's like, no, they're creating extra possessions and they're getting stops in a better way. Like, that is really, really important, and it's irrefutable. You just look at the box score. Those guys are the ones that are chipping in those areas when no one else was doing it before.
Effort, effort, effort. It is something we have talked about with this team for a while. Forcing turnovers, I believe, is an effort stat. Blocks, not so much. That's talent and bigs and being in the right place at the right time. But we've just continuously talked about effort from this Suns team, and the reasoning why there is some semblance of a fan or a media member getting a little excited about the Suns winning again and largely beating up on this team. I don't think it was really close for most of it. I was never worried about the Suns losing this game, but the Suns against teams all year like this were losing these games and weren't doing the things even in the games that they won that we saw tonight. Over the past 2 games, we saw them obliterate 2 really bad teams. But it at least allows you to think, wait a second, maybe it clicked. Maybe they realized themselves, we're not as good as we are. Maybe we're not as good as we thought we were. And maybe that clicked the other day in the second quarter when they were down 29-24 to the Raptors the other day. I just think that the Suns over the past, you can call it players, you can call it a mentality switch, but it's effort, effort, effort. All the stats that you had just mentioned, those things can happen with just a little bit more extra effort. That's where I land on it.
All right, last thing, Footprint Center report. We were up close with Tyus Jones.
Dude, he's short. Holy cow. Listen, yeah. Tyus Jones, this is not to be disrespectful because I know it can come out. I am short. I guess I'm average at best. I'm taller than Brendon, so that's all I have for that. But Tyus Jones, the fact that he's so bad defensively makes so much more sense when you stand next to him. Nice guy, looked like he had an awesome family. Kids were running around, great, cute kids. Holy cow, that guy is small. Yep. Holy cow, that dude is small.
Yeah,
also, Oso, now we're getting on height because I saw Oso down here as well, and he scared the tar out of me in the tunnel. That's a tall man. He is every bit of 6'9". Now he's not listed at 7 foot like ESPN has him at, but he is every bit of 6'9", 6'10". He is not lying about his height.
Is there anybody since you've been coming to games and being around down there that was surprisingly big to you? Because Tyus, I agree, and like we were talking, Chris Paul is like very similar where you get up close and you're okay. He is small, but what about like you thought somebody was okay? Like that's an NBA player. He's 6 whatever. I know very like vaguely what size he is, but then I'm here and it's way more than I thought.
So one other guy that was just really, really small and just insane to me, and why I understand why people don't think he's an NBA player, although I think he is. Holy bleep, Bronny James is like 1 inch taller than me. That dude is freaking and I feel bad because his dad's a giant. Secondly, LeBron.
Yeah, LeBron's the one I always go to. It's more than anything you're thinking it could possibly be.
Massive.
Yeah.
That dude is a mammoth of a man.
Yeah.
And it's not just that, but he's as big as a fridge.
Yeah.
So whenever LeBron has ever now he's never going to fight someone in the stands because obviously he has way more to lose than some idiot in the stands calling him whatever name.
Yeah.
But when LeBron comes at you in the stands, I see why people shut the bleep up right away. You know, Kevin Durant is a big dude. He's not, I don't think he's super, that's going to come back on me. I don't think he's super menacingly. To be fair, I don't think Devin Booker is menacingly either.
Yeah.
But, like, LeBron is one big MFer. You know
it's
who
like
else?
George Kittle who can, like, dribble through traffic. It's like he's a football player.
Dude, LeBron is the only person who I actually think would really succeed in football from the NBA to the NFL. Like, go and be a Pro Bowler in the NFL. These other NBA players I'm sure could play in the NFL, but LeBron, if you want to be a tight end, he absolutely could have been. Just another guy tonight, Josh Giddey's pretty big. That's a tall dude.
Yeah. There's always, like, there's some of those with height, too, where you see them up close and it's like, okay, yeah, you're tall. All right, I get it.
Yeah, man.
Ben Simmons was kind of like that for me the first time, where it's like, I know he's like a big guard. That's
6'10",
obviously
right?
the thing, about him, but you see it and it's like, oh no, he's just like as tall as like a center is. For real, I can see it.
You were telling me how little Chris Paul was, but the two guys that that was shocking how little they were, Tyus Jones and Bronny James. Tyus, at least I know, is obviously an NBA player and has had success in the NBA. Bronny, I think, is also can play in the NBA. I think the things are a little too harsh on him. But holy crap, dude. Bronny, I'm not joking with you, man, is maybe 2 inches taller than you, and he does not look – he obviously can outbench both of us, I'm sure.
I was around when he warmed up, but I was at the game, but I wasn't around when he warmed up, so I didn't see him. And I saw him in college, but I was upstairs in the upper deck for the ASU game, so I've never been up close with Bronny.
I ran into Bronny because I'm always on my phone doing something social, whether it's this, mine, whatever, the other. I walked directly into Bronny James in my phone, and I was like, oh, sorry, thinking it was Bronny. He's like, all good, bro. And I'm not joking. The reasoning why I was a little dumbfounded is because we were looking eye to eye.
He's listed at 6'3", so I'm a little skeptical of that.
He's not 6'3". He is no shot he's 6'3".
All right.
He is at most with shoes on 6'1".
The last one I'll leave for everybody that wowed me, even in college, Robert Williams, Time Lord. He was, I watched, people probably remember because it was kind of a big thing because we knew the Suns were going to have a high pick, but here in this arena, U of A played Texas A&M, Ayton versus Robert Williams, and I went courtside and was watching both of them warm up, and I was like, Robert Williams is significantly more filled out than DeAndre Ayton is right now, and he's still ripped and huge. So, a little shorter because he's a smaller guy, but that was one.
Well, if the Suns
Age 18, Robert Williams was like a beast of a man.
Well, can't stay healthy though, which is always surprising with those guys.
Could have been a Sun. We talked about him for like
he's a
3 months this
he's
season.
Along with the rookie that Bud played. He played for the Hawks, and now he's on the Jazz. John Collins, Robert Williams, both Suns trade deadline rumor legends.
Oh yeah, John Collins would have been here if not for KD. That's pretty set in stone. I think we know that for sure at this point. All right, that'll wrap us up. Hit follow, subscribe if you haven't already. We got one more show for you this week, and then we'll be back with recaps of those Bucks and Celtics games next week that we were talking about and much more. Enjoy the weekend. Well, enjoy your Thursday, I should say, and we'll talk to you then.